like to give you an update about the MBA, the MATBA. For those that you follow us regularly, we started in 1st of February the new program, and I'm really pleased because we have some of the students of the program, my students, here. You have the opportunity to see them later. They will stay. Some will join later because all of the 22 students are working in the air transport. Then there are some working as a traffic controller. Then there are now in their shift. Then when their shift will finish, they will join. Then the MBA it was a dream with Andreas Papatheodorou, who is the director of the program, and with me back in 15 years ago. And finally, with the help, the tremendous help of Athens International Airport, with Yorgos, with Ioanna and Teta, we materialized it, and we started the first edition in 1st of February. However, we have a very strong industry board and also very interactive contribution from the industry, because what we want to do is to have a good interaction, not to be just another program, but to interact, and these students have the opportunity to interact with the leaders. And the idea is to make the next leader of the air transport. Therefore, Michael Bell was in Chios Island, where it was the only 1 week physical and let's say lectures for a week. And Michael managed to bring also Dimitri Gerogiannis, the CEO of Aegean Airlines, to give to make a workshop about him and about Aegean. Also, we have a very good interaction in my online courses. We had already a keynote address from Angela Gittens, my president in Hermes, previous director general of ACI World, Salvatore Sachitano, the immediate past president of ICAO. Next Monday, we have with Simon Harker, who is the director general of Canso, and also with Mehmet Nane, the chairperson of Pegasus. All of these are part of the industry board of the program, because the idea is to interact with the industry. Therefore, we have a really strong team of leaders that are in the industry board, including also Jankovic, including Peter Erbers, that was still recently in CEO of Indigo, also with Simon Haggard, with Glenn Hughes from TIACA, the Cargo Association, with Walid Youssef from the from the Aviation Service Association. Therefore, we try to have all the aspects of the air transport. Also with the airline sector, we have Rania Yogurtsapu, the Managing Director of Airlines for Europe, and Abdulwahab Tefaha, the Secretary of ACO. Without further ado, I would like to invite Anargyros, who is the responsible administration of administrative affairs of the program, to give you a little bit more details about the program. We would like to have you give some guest lectures, but at the same time, as you lead companies and association, to see as a potential that your staff will do this program. Because we want to make a program not to be a landmark for Greece, that is already a landmark for Greece, program for Greece, but a global one. Then, Argyros.
It is a pleasure, but also a great honor to be here today among experts and leaders. And I will not waste much of your time. I will, in short, present you the new interinstitutional program, postgraduate program, MBA in Air Transport Management. A very new initiative that, as Dr. Iatrou said, started for the first time last month. Is jointly offered by University of the Aegean and Democritus University of Thrace, two well-established and well-known universities in Greece. Few words about its course structure. The first semester presents some introductory courses such as Air Transport and Tourism, Introduction to Air Transport Ecosystem, led by Dr. Iatrou himself, Emerging Technologies, Safety and Security Systems, Market and Forecasting Analysis. In the second semester, our students have the opportunity to choose 1 out of 3 course streams: airports, airlines, and air navigation service providers, ANSP, while the final and third semester is the preparation and submission of the MBA thesis. The tuition fees, the total cost is 10,000 euros, which may sound a little bit expensive for the Greek market, but actually is among the lowest in the market in MBAs specializing in air transport. And of course, we give great flexibility to all of our students to be paid in monthly installments. The program has two main study modes: the full-time study modes, which is 3 semesters, 18 months, and the part-time, which is double time. So it's like 6 semesters, which means 36 months in total. We have online Zoom lectures during almost every day, except Sunday, of course, and also asynchronous delivery, because we record every lecture and we upload it to the university platform for someone who cannot join in real time, because, for example, our first cohort, all of them are professionals and they work in the sector, so of course we respect that and we give them this degree of flexibility. At this point, I would also like to thank our two strategic partners, the Athens International Airport, for their invaluable support and contribution, and of course Hermes Air Transport Organization. Besides the distinguished faculty, which are also happy to welcome some professors from abroad, as Dr. Iatrou already said, we have an industry board, an external advisory board called MATBA Industry Board, and we have also members of the industry board here today, and I believe the overall vision of this board is exactly to connect the realities, opportunities and challenges of the sector with the academic excellence and knowledge of the program. Last but not least, if you ask me what is the competitive advantage of the program and why someone to choose MATBA over some other program, I would say that the following 4 drivers are very important. It's delivered in English, it has mainly online participation, it is awarding an MBA degree, and it's specializing in air transport, because before the MATBA even started, we did an extensive internal research and identified 19 postgraduate programs around the globe specializing in air transport, and only 4 of them were awarding an MBA degree. And among these 4, the one of them were delivering mainly in Turkish. So I believe the combination of these 4 rivals is the competitive advantage of the program. I don't know if you, Dr. Iatrou,
no, do you have any question regarding this? Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Congratulations for this initiative. Of course, I'm totally surprised, and I'm taking this opportunity not to promote something that I'm really right now to tell you, but I deliver as a gift 45 books of my, book that I wrote, which is the only one in Greece concerning aviation management. The name is Aero in Greeks. So you can go to your university and find this sponsoring with my books in order for the postgraduate students to have a look on this. And also I take also another opportunity. This book was written with also sponsoring by the Athens International Airport in 2002. Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you very much.
I was in the presentation there with Jan. Any questions?
You can also visit the official website of the MATBA program, matba.aero.
Okay, then, thank you, Ariel. Then we'll move to the core of the program. Then what best to listen from the leaders of the air transport. And we have the best, one of the best to moderate this Ilias Maragkakis. He have done this for the last couple of years, and everyone liked the way he moderated. Then asked Ilias to do it again, and he's senior partner in Lufthansa Consulting. And in the first panel, the first session, we have Selahattin Bilgen, and Selahattin, Yorgos Kallimasias, then next to Selahattin, Jean-Luc, my family name. Sorry. Then please, and we have last but not least Ahmet Bağdat, the chief marketing officer of Pegasus Airlines. Then, sorry. Yeah, 15, and then you do it.
15 minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Your esteemed speakers. I'm not going to introduce each one individually. I think we're quite a small group, so I don't believe we should go as we do in the big conference where every individual will introduce themselves and their organization. And I think already from the speakers program, you can see who they are and what they have done. I'm just going to jump right in because that will be the way we will understand what they're going through every day and what exactly their business is about. I'm just going to start from my right, which is I will ask you, Jean-Luc, how are the developments of these days affecting your business operations?
Well, you know, we are providing passenger processing solutions, and we have 3 factories around the world, two in India, 1 in Canada. So we've got some supply chain coming from those factories, especially from India to Canada. And obviously, those days, the price, we had this week a surcharge on the shipment by sea of all goods to Canada, plus the transit time. Our route to ship the goods were through New York. Now it has been changed this last week to Montreal, so it's adding additional days to the shipment of the goods. So at the additional, let's say, potential delays on the deployment of our projects, so more complexity on that. Plus, obviously, the projects in the Middle East, so some of them have been on hold. We just signed last month a project with Kerbala Airport in Iraq, so obviously for the time being, everything has been stopped.
Yeah, and I can sympathize with that. I had a call yesterday with an airline. They approached me for a project, a very quick one, because they're going to take delivery of 50 aircraft in the Middle East. So they talked with the airline and the airport, and yesterday we had a discussion for phase 2 of the project. Okay, there's no need. And we decided, yeah, there's no need to go ahead with this discussion. By the end of the year, they will not have they can deliver 50 aircraft, and having traffic issues is no longer an issue for the time. So let me ask you the same question, because you're coming from Istanbul Airport, right? So you must be quite affected. We were talking about it earlier, and you were saying almost 10% of the flights are canceled. Like, is that number right?
Yeah. Actually, you know, Istanbul is positioned in the middle of Europe, Africa, and Asia, and we are very near to the Middle Eastern airports, and we are on the way for main destinations. And in the initial week of the crisis, it started with around 60 to 70 flights per day cancellations, but now it has reached up to 150 flights per day, and it's like 10% of our daily operations. So we, at the first instance, we lost nearly 10% of our daily traffic. And you know, it's not just, by the way, the Turkish Airlines, it's also the airlines of those countries as well, because although we are a global hub, we are also serving as a regional hub to the airports in the nearby. And all Iran, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Jordan, all these countries use Istanbul as a main point for transfer, and this has significantly impacted the overall traffic movements in the region.
So basically in one day you lost 10% of your traffic just disappeared?
Yeah, just today, as I said, normally we have a very busy airport with daily air traffic movements above 1,500, and so 150 is around 10% of our daily movements.
And how do you cope with this when it comes to shifts, when it comes to...
Actually, the thing is, you know, we have still a huge turnover of operations. That's why on the other hand, by the way, we were also very busy with diverted flights. You know, many aircrafts had to land to Istanbul Airport because of the closure of the airspace, and some of them are still staying in our airport. And to be honest, we also feel responsibility to be an airport which helps to continue the overall operations in the region. and we also take pride in that sense that we have been able to facilitate any need arising from the closure of the airspace and airports in the region. And that has kept us busy while we lost that amount of traffic. And in terms of operations, we are a full-fledged service airport, and we keep on our services, and we give priority to the continuation of the operations.
Thank you. But and since we're talking about Turkey, if I can ask, how's the situation with Pegasus?
Yeah, first of all, of course, there's a humanitarian side, and hopefully the peace will be restored as soon as possible. Yeah, as a Turkish carrier, we are heavily impacted. Our Middle East operations, it spans 10 countries, almost all of them cancelled right now. And it corresponds to about 15% of our ASK, available seat kilometers. So yeah, there is a significant impact, and we are trying to optimize our scheduling based on this new situation. But we also see a decline in the demands in our domestic traffic, in our European routes as well. So it's challenging times. And of course, there's an element of oil price. As every other airline, we are trying to deal with it. But luckily, I can say, or maybe because we were cautious, a significant portion of our oil prices hedge. But of course, we will see the cost impacts of this new reality.
And do you, since we're in the airport airline world, talking about aviation for all, it's about collaborating at the end of the day, it's all talking about collaboration. Do you collaborate together with IGA? I mean, I know it's not your base there, nonetheless.
We fly very limited operations in Istanbul airport. A significant part of our operations is in Sabiha Gökçen, but of course we are in collaboration with every authority and every partner in the ecosystem as well, yeah. But especially with the Sabiha Gökçen and the state authorities.
Okay. We'll get back to that, to the collaboration between everyone. But George, if I may say, so is Athens impacted as well? I mean, okay, Istanbul is quite closer to that direction, but what is the situation?
Yeah, well, thank you. Yes, of course we have impact. The volume of traffic of the immediately affected countries accounts for approximately 7.5% of our annual traffic. We don't see the same number already. We see that with repatriation flights and special flights, we see some, let's say, smaller level of impact. Nevertheless, I think the main concern is how long this will last. If that will affect the propensity to fly, we are at leisure, mainly leisure airport, and Greece, as you know, tourism. If that is going to affect the intentions of international travelers to come to Athens and Greece, and of course, as was mentioned earlier, the impact on oil prices, the impact on airfares, then if that is going to have an effect on the economy with inflation, and if that is going to be the start of a financial crisis. So I think these long-term concerns are more important than the immediate impact on the traffic levels.
Oh, and if I may say, you're leading an airport which is also having a large capex program ahead. How do you deal with this uncertainty that is unfolding? And of course, as an airport, you have to build for the future. How does this work?
Well, we've had the same situation in more extreme a way back in 2019, 2020. We were about to start our capex program, and COVID came, so we suspended. We were quite lucky at that time that we had not committed yet to contractors, so that was, let's say, a situation where we were able to immediately pull back from any capex plans. Now we have already started a couple of our projects, building car parks, building aircraft parking areas. These obviously cannot stop We are in the process of tendering and awarding a very large CapEx program for the expansion of terminals. There is some modularity in these expansion plans. There is a modularity that you can do less if this is necessary, but once you embark on a CapEx program, it's very difficult to suspend. So currently we are in a situation where we have not yet committed the biggest project, which is the terminal expansion. Hopefully, first of all, for humanitarian reasons, as was mentioned, but for our industry as well, this war will not last too long. But if the situation dramatically changes, we will obviously have to adapt our plans.
Yeah, I can imagine quite not so much decisions yet, but rather I can imagine you're thinking of multiple scenarios. But great. And I would like at this point to introduce also the concept, because this is what we're describing, of the so-called bunny world that one of the visionaries has. If for those of you familiar with the same visionary, he once upon a time had talked about the VUCA world, which you might have heard more often in the past because that was done, I think, at the end of the Cold War. But Bunny, he's trying really to explain what we're living through and going through every day. It's almost like running into somebody's reality show. So it's in an environment which is brittle, that's for B, an environment which is anxious, right? So brittle, first of all, that means like the supply chains. One day you have the supply chain, and I think Jean-Luc, you might sympathize a little bit with that. So it's a very brittle world where your supply chain might completely change from one day to the next. The other one is anxious. That is, you know, every news item that you read is just a story on its own, and well, every news cycle is even difficult to follow up. It just has its own story, and it just only makes you nervous. So that's the BA. And the other one is the non-linear, so that means that it doesn't make any sense sometimes. Again, I think that's sometimes we also associate ourselves when we read the news. And finally, of course, the comprehensible, which is the incomprehensible speed at which these things are happening. And by the time you solve one crisis, the next one has come up. So that's the bunny world. Or in other words, this is what we're going through. So in this bunny world, since I have you, first of all, as leaders in leading positions, I would like to ask you, what is the role, first of all, that you have as a person? And then during the discussion, we can also go into the collaboration part, the aviation for all part, which is, what is the collaboration? Is that a mitigation measure towards this world? So, Jean-Luc, can I start again with you? You appear to be quite isolated, but I want to bring you into the discussion.
I'm in my island, my Greek island.
He's not with the sound, he has the sound.
Yeah, so it's, I think the key for that is to be able to have decision cycles that are quick, to take quick decisions, to adapt, to innovate, to put some new ideas on the table, to be able to cope with this bunny world and to collaborate with all the stakeholders. That's something we are used to do because in the passenger processing world, we speak about common use. So you need to work with the airports, with the airlines, with the regulatory bodies. When we deploy border control solutions at the same, the entry-exit project that we are deploying in Greece, that's collaboration with a lot of stakeholders. So to me, it's this collaboration which is important in this bunny world, and the quick decision cycles, to take decisions quickly and to adapt to this world, which is, as we said, changing quickly, sometimes not in a very logical way. So you need to adapt quickly and take quick decisions. That's what we are trying to do with a global organization and taking into account the culture of each entities of the organization, which is sometimes also something not easy to address.
But have you seen an understanding coming from airports, from your clients or partners, whenever you run through a difficulty? Do they provide a shoulder to cry on, or are they also demanding that it's your problem and you have to fix it because they have their own bunny world, so they, you know?
Yeah, usually that's all problems, and we try to also explain and share what could be done in a collaborative manner with our clients, airports and airlines, to make sure that we find solutions together. But yes, sometimes we are pushed to situations where we are told that it's our problem, but it's never completely the problem of one entity, the problem of several entities, and we need to, put everybody on the same table to find the solutions and to move quickly. That's what we are trying to do.
Do you agree, Ahmed? Is it so structured that it can happen so well? Like for you in your leadership position that you have, all this uncertainty, how do you see it as your role in all this environment for your company, for your team?
First of all, I think the key is agility. I've been in the industry relatively new, 8 years, and I already seen COVID and now this, and there's always something. And it is totally essential that you have to be not just adaptive, but very quick in decision making and taking those hard decisions in a very quick manner in every aspect. Either it's a finance decision, it's a scheduling decision, or human resource decision, and everything. Yeah, of course, it's even without this crisis, I think it's a huge complex world industry. There are so many partners in the ecosystems and stakeholders. It brings actually complexity, but we have to find a way to take advantage of this rich ecosystem because I think it's not just for Pegasus, but any single airline cannot be successful itself on itself in this complex environment and in this complex industry. We are of course collaborating with the authorities, with the airports, if it requires, even with the aircraft manufacturers and our financial institutions. So anything you can imagine, and I think that's with the agility itself, that's the key to be survive and success in this tough environment. Not just during the times of crisis, but almost any time.
So you're saying that it's part of the DNA of the industry?
Yeah, and day by day it's getting more complex, and in my experience it even requires more coordination and more exchange of know-how, data, systems, pretty much anything you can imagine.
Yeah, but some people, fairly or unfairly, they say, airports, you have it easy. You don't have a whole fleet to operate. And you know what, you don't need to ground like some airlines have had to do. So what do you, is that true? And of course it's not. But
I wouldn't say so, by the way, no, I would never say so.
But I'm just exaggerating in order to bring a little bit more controversy in the discussion. Because I'm exploring a little bit what is your role on a personal level and what is then the role of collaboration. So, Selahattin, do you want to start with you?
Yeah. By the way, I fully agree that the magic word is agility. In such an environment where manufacturers change very fast but directly impacts your figures, you have to also be very adaptive to the changing conditions. And as my colleague said, you are not on your own. You have to act in coordination with many parties in an ecosystem. Your performance is dependent on others, whereas others' performance is dependent on yours. So that's why we always have been stressing the importance of cooperation and collaboration in the industry. I usually give the example that the airlines, for example, may, if did not started this code sharing processes, most of them would already go bankrupt. And in one hand, they are competing with each other very fiercely, but on the other hand, they have to make some ways to cooperate in order to survive. And it's a good example of the overall industry as well. Although we sometimes take different parts as airlines and airports, but at the end of the day, my performance directly impacts the overall efficiency of the airline operations. And in such an environment where we face many difficulties coming from the political instability, many other factors, we have to be more inclined to share more data, inclined to be more cooperative, and maybe adapt ourselves to operate in such a way to find better ways to coordinate among ourselves so that we operate more efficiently. Because at the end of the day, we are in some part unlucky about the positioning of ourselves, because for example, as an airport operator, I have to make 10-year, 20-year long plans and make investments accordingly in order to be ready for putting the capacity at the right time, at the right place. But on the other hand, all of a sudden, a political crisis may pop up and may last for several years, where you find yourself in a situation where you already make billions of investments but stay idle for quite some time. And if you do not take action, maybe you can be short in terms of capacity while the demand is booming, you are unable to serve. So that's why we have to be, although the nature of the business is not synchronized in the way that the outsider changes to our internal issues. Maybe I can also highlight the Istanbul airport experience here. Like 12 years ago, Istanbul was around 12th or 13th position in Europe in terms of aviation share, business share, but now Istanbul airport is currently Europe's #1 in terms of, as I said, connectivity, air traffic movements, passenger numbers. We've surpassed Heathrow last year as well. So how did this happen? I put as the biggest success factor as being agile and taking brave decisions at the time required, and being collaborative with the stakeholders in our ecosystem. It's not just by the way ANSPs or the airlines, but also the public sector as well. In our airport, we've been acting in very good coordination with the state airport authorities, the municipality, the governor of Istanbul. So this has required a good level of cooperation and data sharing among all these parties. And in a crisis situation, and where you have to act very fast and agile, this is a very important point in order not to be better, but also to be able to survive.
Okay, you raised 3 very important points, which I'm going to go to George, but after that, I'm going to come back, which was, one was you mentioned brave decisions. So I'd like to hear examples of such brave decisions. Second is, you mentioned the role also of you said public sector, the government, and so on. So I'm always curious for different industries whether that always plays a role. I can understand for an airport. And finally, you also mentioned a topic very dear to me, which is data sharing. I hear so much about it, but I don't see it. So, but before we go that, George, I would like to ask you exactly the same question, because I was being even more, let's say, facetious, especially in the case of Athens, because exactly of the problems that you mentioned, which are real airport problems. You have uncertainty, you have capex, how do you deal with it? So in this case, what is the role of the leadership, and what is the role of collaborating with others?
Yeah, thanks. Trying not to repeat what my colleague said, but indeed, airports are, I would say, have a very wide ecosystem where the airport plays a central part. I would, for example, mention obviously airlines, handlers, but also service providers, commercial concessionaires, unions, employees, lenders, investors, etc. So it's a very wide network of stakeholders, and having the airport company typically at the center of all that. When we started operation back in 2001, moving from the old airport to the new one, at that time, in the previous airport, the sense of collaboration didn't really exist. It was mainly the state-owned airline, the Civil Aviation Authority of that time, and with very little, let's say, part being played by the private entities, which were very small at that time. When we started, we conceived this idea of bringing the airport community together and making a lot of, let's say, having a lot of interaction with the various stakeholders of the airport community, which now comprises 19,000 employees. So this is a huge, let's say, ecosystem. And this cooperation, this collaboration was key. The airport plays, as I said, a central role, but it takes everybody to want to work on this ecosystem. I will bring an example of, going back again to the pandemic period, an example of collaboration during crisis, where we work together with the major stakeholders to support employment with this program of Anargyros, it's called work sharing program, working together with the stakeholders, the ground handlers, the airlines, to convince the government that this is a program worth looking at, and obviously that was also expanded further to other sectors of the economy. We work together with the banks, we work together with all the service providers and the commercial concessionaires, adjusting contracts where it was necessary without, taking advantage of contractual rights. We realized this is a crisis that we need to be alive after the end of the crisis. We all need to be standing on our feet after the crisis is over. And this worked very well. So this is a true example of leadership, taking the leadership role, but also of collaboration. We have collaboration examples in many other areas. One maybe worth also mentioning is something that is not automatically considered part of the airline's role. This is working together with the tourism authorities and local communities and Athens to promote the destination, because at the end of the day, Athens is mainly an O&D destination. 85% of the traffic is O&D, which means promoting Athens benefits everybody, benefits us, benefits the airlines, benefits all the stakeholders. And we have worked together. Ioanna is very much involved into this. This is Athens and partners collaboration with the municipality of Athens, with the Aegean, with the tourism authorities, and other stakeholders from tourism. And this is truly working to promote what is essentially the purpose of people flying to Athens, the destination.
That's very true. Thank you. So, great. So I'm going to get back into the other points that were mentioned. The role of the government, and I think, George, you really touched upon it and gave a great example of the pandemic, how the government played a central role, but also lobbying the government. In your business, Jean-Luc, has ever, like the government, because you have interaction with the government, you are providing actually machines which allow the government to control who's entering and exiting.
Yeah, that's the case in Greece, for instance, for the entry-exit systems, where, yes, we have to make sure that the system does comply with central entry-exit system, plus the local border control system of the country, plus the possibility to read all the passports of all the citizens of the world. So that's also a complex type of. So to your point, to the data analysis, this is key to have a good data analysis on that, and to have tools to make sure that if a passport from a given country has not gone through the border control, let's say, reading, what is the issue, and to analyze and to troubleshoot that, to to know why one has spent 1 minute on the kiosk and another one has spent 5 minutes. So you need those data to be able to improve and to fix also and to troubleshoot those systems.
Great. You went to the second point, which is data analysis.
Yeah.
But I interrupted you. What do you want to say?
No, I think that on the data analysis there is a big trend those days. We have seen a shift in the last 5 years to really, collect the data and make sure that we share the data in a way that it's used by the airports or by all the stakeholders in a collaborative manner. We've got some examples where we have been in positions to do that with some competitors.
Yeah.
10, 15 years back, our solution suppliers, competitors were, they were considering all their competitors as enemies. Today we've seen a lot of projects where in the last 5 years, I would say, there is collaborations. And we bring tools that will enable to bring a solution provider having the agent-facing common use system, the other one which is a self-service, and we bring all those data together to the airport. That's something new, I guess. I've got a number of examples like this in Europe or in North America.
Of course, you're not having a misunderstanding. We're not talking about data, the travelers program, right?
No, of course, because then you have the GDPR regulation, so we cannot process the data. But the data of the transactions, the data of what's happening on the touch point, being a self-service kiosk, being a self-backdrop, being a border control solution, an e-gate, you need those technical data.
Since we're on this, because I would like to engage with others as well on sharing of data, since we're talking about the sharing of data. But can you give us an example of why is this data important for an airport?
Well, for instance, to understand how many kiosks they need to deploy. They have 20 kiosks, they want to expand. Is it 10 additional kiosks, 20, 50? So they need to have the data of the transactions to know, what is the setup of self-service solutions they need to automate the processing of their passengers. So that's key to have that, and that's also key for the maintenance of the system.
Maybe, by the way, I can step in here and give another example about our airport as well. This year, our on-time performance has exceeded 82%, and which put us in the very top segment. And ultimately, this was the result of this data sharing example. We kicked off the ACDM system 2 years ago and became the country's first ACDM airport. But it was not just becoming an ACDM, but making it more efficient and making it more collaborative way. So in a scenario where airport operator, airline, ground handler, the ANSP, they all share the data, which results in a situation where everybody knows if there's a problem or if there's a bottleneck, if there is something that has to be fixed, or if there's something that has to be coordinated. So in an environment where all these processes are linked to each other, you cannot rely on your own performance, your own data, but you have to be in an environment where you share the data, make use of that data, and use that in your operations as well. So in order to improve on-time performance, you have to, as I say, be aware of what's going on the other processes as well, and be aware of any bottlenecks. And that's how, for example, Istanbul Airport has become the best performing airport in terms of delays attributable to airport or in terms of on-time performance last year.
That's right. Right, you're
and that ultimately results in a situation where we become operationally more efficient, airlines become operationally more efficient and more financially in a better situation.
Okay, I'll give you that. Okay, you're right. Operationally, data, it works, and so on. But here I see a very large airport, a very large airline, and I ask, commercial data, increasing your revenues, mutually beneficial.
That's the holy grail.
Thank you. So, where are we there? Why is it? Because operationally we heard things are being exchanged. Any opinions? I mean, what's going on?
I take the opportunity to answer that. Unfortunately, the airports are rather agnostic to the passengers. They don't have direct data of the passengers. The airlines have plenty of data. Commercial concessionaires like duty free have considerable data. We just know numbers. So many passengers went through security, so many passengers went through check-in, etc., etc. We don't know who they are. We don't know if they're flying. We know what they're flying, but we don't know what they're spending. We don't know their age. We don't know how often if they're first-time flyers or they're flying every 2 days. So this is something.
Their identity.
We're agnostic to that. So that's why, in order to for the airports to get some participation in this data, first of all, we do surveys. As example, we run surveys with the passengers since the first year of operation, with approximately 40,000 samples every year. And we ask a number of demographics. We ask about the mode of transport. We ask about what they're spending, a number of. But these are still surveys. They're not. They have an accuracy because it's a large statistical sample, but it's still not the data per se. We get some data from our commercial concessionaires. We have an agreement and receive some data from the duty free, etc. But I think still there's a long way to go to really tap on let's say, the value of the commercial data that would enable us to increase essentially our revenues. We do use this data in our discussions with airlines because these are useful information for the airlines and the route developers, etc. We do use this information to understand better our commercial, let's say, performance, but this is still an area where we are still trying to get more through data.
And by the way, it's also maybe worth to mention that we have a huge barrier called GDPR.
Of course. But we don't want to know the name of the passenger or anything really personal. We just we want to know some demographics of the passenger. We don't care about the name. We don't care about anything that is really personal. But still, that is something that the only way that we get it is through surveys, essentially.
So Ahmet, why is it that you're not giving them that data?
I want to. And I also want to receive the data as well. Maybe I can talk a little bit more about the customer experience perspective as a marketing guy. Sometimes our customers spend much more time at the airport than they do spend at the flight itself. And so the customer experience at the airport is really crucial for us. And in order to, and actually as an airline, of course I don't have the full control, but other than that, I don't have the actual data, what they are doing at the airport, and how much they are spending, how much time they do spend at the security or the food court. So there's a huge potential up there, but I cannot tell we are in a good position but we have the vision and objective, at least for the hub, for our Sabiha Gökçen airport. We can do better, we know that, and we are in contact with the airport authorities. But what we are doing, at least for now, initially, for the last 2 years, we are kind of obsessed with informing our customers at each step of their journey, starting from car park throughout their whole journey, and an important component of this chain is, of course, the airport. So we are working with the airports, and including Sabiha Gökçen Airport, to be able to retrieve data so that we can inform our customers in a very timely manner with the car park information, with the counter information, and every other aspect you can imagine. At least that's the first step of our integration.
Yeah, but how can you do it without the airports? I mean, you do need Jean-Luc, of course, with his equipment, but
I cannot do it without the airports. Yeah, you're right. You are right. So we need to find better ways of working in terms of prioritization, in terms of technology, in terms of finding common goals. But we are all in the same ship here. Yeah.
you said the same ship.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that nobody heard anything else. Only one thing that came to my mind, apart from surveys, what I have seen in many airports now, it's the latest fashion. They use telecoms companies. It used to be a niche market. Yes, I'm looking at you because I know you like data. So basically, the theory goes as follows, which I think for a market like Greece is whoever lands, let's say Athens airport, they're going to switch on their mobile phone. This is going to go directly to the closest antenna. They're going to see what phone this was. That's a Canadian phone. Great. So that passenger who's arriving with the Frankfurt flight, actually, because normally the statistics of the airport will be flight from Frankfurt. They don't know where they're coming from because exactly the airline will not share with them where that passenger is originating from. In this case, now they know through the mobile phone that that's Canadian. So you have a Canadian visitor, and so on and so on. So they create their own statistics. It's cheap. They sell it, most of these telecoms companies, for 15K, 20K. They don't want you to know the prices. Yeah, that's the price. And it's you can get the full data.
So that's an alternative way than cooperating with
Yeah.
airlines or telecom
Yeah,
companies.
well, you try to fill in gaps and
It's good to learn.
Yeah. Everybody benefits, I guess. But Jean-Luc, you sometimes, I mean, yes, you talked about the entry-exit system, but also with some of the equipment, like the check-in counters and so on, you are kind of in the middle of both worlds, right? In the middle between the airline, which sometimes is even running your software most of the times, the OTP, of course, the DCS, which sometimes belongs also to the airport also, plus it takes place at the airport. So have you seen any areas of improvement? Or have you seen areas that need improvement? Let me just put it that way.
You mean
In the collaboration between the airline and the airport,
Okay.
through the work that you're doing with the equipment, whether you've seen either best cases, like examples where you go like, this should have been done in all airports at
Yeah.
or areas where you say they need to work in a different way.
Yes. So on the traditional solutions to process passengers, I think the collaboration is already there. On the agent-facing common use system, on the self-service CUS types of solutions, there is collaboration since many, many years, so it's done already. What is probably new is on the biometrics, where you don't have the same regulations everywhere in the world, so you cannot use the biometrics the same way. We've got the GDPR in Europe, so there is different ways of addressing the processing of the passenger using biometrics. And in this case, yes, there is a new collaboration which is done between the airports and the airlines on biometrics. I've seen that in Marseille Airport, for instance. We did a project integrating a biometric which is on the cell phone of the passenger. And obviously, to be able to implement that, they had to negotiate with the airlines with new ways, new legal also agreements, because today the airlines or the handling agent is doing the ID check. If you are using this type of biometrics, you can get rid of the ID check, but you need to have an agreement with the airline, between the airport and the airlines and the regulation body to do that. So I think it's new. We see that also with backdrops, the self-backdrop solutions, because all the airlines are having their own way of processing the bags of their passengers. The rules are different. The rules can be different also depending on the destination, depending on the airport for the same airline. So there is this collaboration, this new collaboration between the airports and the airlines to make sure that it's addressed. So I would say those two topics are probably new for us in terms of passenger processing.
Great. Just to talk very briefly about technology, latest tech trends, any big change you're planning in Istanbul airport, when it comes to technology, check-in, kiosks and so on? Is there anything coming up? Or?
Actually, benefiting of planning this airport from scratch and being a relatively new airport, we have had the opportunity to use cutting-edge technologies, latest best practices in our airport. But we have been, in many aspects, limited with external factors like GDPR or governmental restrictions. For example, coming to biometrics, we have the whole infrastructure to be able to provide contactless journey to our passengers, whereas we are not able to do that in many years now because of many restrictions we have touched upon. Many technologies which lead to operational efficiencies or passenger experience, we already had them built in our airport. For the last couple of years, we are more focusing on technologies where we can create value in our operations and our services. We use more robotic process automation in our operations. We use more AI in our solutions in many aspects. So
I was just waiting 54th minute before AI was mentioned. Amazing, yeah. It was an analog discussion.
Well, I will not exaggerate the AI concept, but it has become one of the main sources of making our lives easier and getting problems solved with cheaper solutions. So this has been the case in our airport as well. Just again, maybe going over examples is helpful. We have developed our chatbot on an AI platform where we are able to provide answers or provide solutions to our passengers through many channels, including WhatsApp or AI agents in many aspects. So this has been discussed as a concept for many years, and we have seen it being implemented in our operations and become a solution provider in the last couple of years. There's still a long way to go, but it has now become more than a concept right now.
Great. Okay, and I want to ask George, because most of the audience has passed through the airport in the last 24 hours, and definitely they will in the coming days. Should they expect something different in the coming months or years to see in Athens Airport when it comes to technology in terms of passenger experience?
Well, we are also, let's say, rather fortunate to be a moderately new airport. So we were developed when IT technology innovation was already quite mature. So we operate the IT systems of the airport. We have the backbone systems that are in place. We support the users with applications, etc. So we have plenty. I would say we were quite an advance in terms of IT airport when we opened up. We continue to be with continuous upgrades. It's a very expensive sport. Cybersecurity has made it even more expensive. So we're spending considerable amounts in our technology systems. Of course, with the expansion, we will obviously be implementing state-of-the-art systems, replacing again any, let's say, more legacy systems that we have. AI, like digital transformation was in the past, AI is now another area where airports are still trying to find a way. There's no magic solution. There's no concrete answer what can be implemented that can bring tangible value without wasting money. We have a strategy of not being, let's say, early, let's say, bringing technology that is not yet proven. We don't want to be the testing ground for new technology necessarily. A very expensive experiment, but we are nevertheless continuously investigating. We are now actually although we have some AI tools, we have also chatbot, we have some AI tools with our airport agents that support the passenger experience. We are currently doing an AI strategy, trying to find where we can be positioned in this very much unknown journey with AI technology. So, yes, people will be seeing new applications, will be seeing more technology in the airport, but this is something that is, let's say, I would say, we are still in the development phase of how we are going to position ourselves in terms of the AI.
Yeah, of course, I didn't mean that they should expect something on Monday.
No, they will not. No, they shouldn't.
Ahmet, if you, George mentioned magic. So if you had a magic wand, regardless, I know you're chief marketing officer, but as an airline, if you think as an airline, what technology would you really like to have? What technology would you really like to see? Especially if it's something facing the passenger.
Hard question. Definitely something about the airports and the airport experience. I'm also a passenger myself and a customer, of course, and I think the toughest challenges or what's keeping the customers' minds busy is the airport experience. There's too much elements. As I mentioned, can I find a parking space? How will the passport line will be? Where's the counter?
No, he's making passports, and he's making also, right, Jean-Luc, sometimes you also create queues if the system doesn't work, but your system does not have any queues.
No, never.
How long is the security line? Which security line is the best one? You know, which security line should I pick? Which food court should I go to? And I think really objective, not because I'm from airline.
Yeah.
As an industry guy, I would say something improving the experience of the airport itself. Coming back to AI, I think again as an industry, starting from the Pegasus, we have found really good use of AI in terms of operations, maintenance, technical, human resources. For the marketing, I'm optimizing my marketing budget, digital marketing and content creation. It's super cool, but I think we haven't figured out a way to directly improve the customer's life and experience other than the chatbots. It's important and we are also delivering it, but I think somehow we need to find a better use case directly improving and impacting the customer's journey.
I'm going to open the floor, but before I do that, I just want to see who's paying attention from the audience. So I mentioned 3 points, right? I said the first point, because you had started it by saying about the government, the role of the government. Then the second one was the data sharing. And then there was a third point. Anybody remember what it was?
The brave decisions?
Yes, brave decisions. So, somebody was paying attention. Jean-Luc, your brave decision that you've taken.
Well, I can give you an example. 5 years ago, all our metal work for machines was subcontracted. And then we started to see a shift with our suppliers. We were producing, the cabinets of the self-service machine, of the self-backdrops, towards the defense sector. They are producing, more metal works linked to the defense sector, and we were not their #1 priority. So we were having difficulties to keep our delivery lead times for products due to that. Then we decided to do our own. So we invested in laser cutting machine, in bending machines, in welders, to be in a position to produce the metal work ourselves. And due to that, so we kept all the contractors. Due to that, we were in a position to address our, let's say, the majority of our projects who have a delivery lead time which is short, And we keep our subcontractor for the rest of the production to make sure that we scale up. And last year, we did the same for the powder coating. We're having subcontractors with sometimes also some, I will not exaggerate saying that there was a kiosk which was pink and the other one was blue. That was not exactly that. But we're having some quality issues in the powder coating facility, and we decided to do it ourselves. So we opened, we decided to invest in a brand new powder coating facility to address all our painting ourselves with our plant, to manage, in fact, the cycle. So that's two decisions that were important and linked also to the owner of the group who agreed, to invest in those facilities.
And so I think for you, great decision.
To me,
You're the one who mentioned the word.
yeah. To me, the Istanbul Airport project itself has been a very brave decision. The old Atatürk Airport was a very large-scale airport handling around 60 million passengers per year. And there was a debate in our country to whether to force for further expansion of the capacity in that Atatürk Airport itself, or making a brand new airport from scratch and moving all the operations from that airport to the new airport. So that was a very significant and brave decision to take, and thanks to that decision, we are now in a position to be able to put capacity that can go up to 200 million passengers per year, or being in a position to be able to provide high quality service with the best efficiency in Europe, and being able to get market share from other airports. But this was the result of a risk that was taken. If there was a problem in transferring the operations from the old airport to the new airport, everybody would argue that this was a bad decision. And we had to get ready for that in a situation where we even didn't have an airport. Currently there are 100,000 employees working in the airport ecosystem, and in the old airport it was 60,000. And we had to train all those people for the conditions of the new airport without having a new airport. So we had to give trainings in a VR environment where they could see where to go, what to do in the new airport before building the new airport. And we had to close down Atatürk Airport, transfer all the equipment, all the employees to the new airport in 33 hours, push the button, and started that huge operation in the new airport. And it was like 1,000 companies operating in the ecosystem. As I said, at that time, 60,000 employees, many airlines, ground handlers, airport operator, government bodies. So can you think of a situation where you move everything from one place to the other, push the button, and start the operation from where you left in the old airport? So that was a huge risk to be taken, but with a good preparation, good planning, we were able to do that without any major problems or flaws in the operation, and that is paying off right now with having the right capacity, with having the high level of technology. So to me, that brave decision was the overall project itself.
Okay, Ahmet, the way Selahattin described it, through an amazing achievement, but he also reminded me of Winston Churchill, who said famously, the difference between a brave decision and a stupid decision is the result. So, brave decision, how about for you?
Yeah, we have a low-cost airline based in Turkey, but we don't behave always behave like a typical low-cost airline, or typical, or not typical, but just we don't feel ourselves restricted to those borders. For example, we just, I think it's a huge decision and movement from us acquiring Smartwings. As a Turkish, as an airline from Turkey, acquiring a Central European airline, or as a, again, maybe it's about my responsibility for marketing, but being a sponsor to Chelsea, it's not something you will expect from a low-cost airline usually, from a partnership with one of the biggest and best clubs in the world. Actually, it's our DNA. For example, during the COVID, we didn't have any layoffs or furloughs to our employees. None, zero. It was not an easy decision, but it totally paid off, and we had one of the best recoveries in the industry just after the COVID. I think it's thanks to this bold decision. So it's our DNA. We are taking bold decisions, and we don't feel ourselves restricted. We just do the analysis and a little bit courageous.
Here I have to say, the Smartwings we did with McKinsey.
Yeah, of course. I have to mention that, yeah.
George, brave decisions.
Brave decisions, yes. I would select one of the brave decisions of my predecessor, actually, of the company that was at that time CEO was Yannis Parasis. I'm the CEO only for a month and a half, so I haven't had the time as a CEO to have brave decisions yet. Maybe this crisis will lead us to having to take one. I would touch upon something that we have not discussed in this panel, which is sustainability. Back in 2019, we decided through an initiative that was taken by the CEO at the time to become net zero by the end of 2025. The industry has a commitment until 2050 to become net zero. So, with considerable risk, and without obviously knowing that COVID was around the corner, this was a decision that was announced in December 2019, so really around the corner. We pledged to become net zero through the development of solar parks for producing clean energy, and through the substitution of other sources of scope 1 and 2 emissions, reducing scope 1 and 2 emissions, and I will tell you more about it. At that time, even the legislative framework for storing energy through battery systems for self-production was not existing. So we had a lot of unknowns, a lot of, let's say, parameters which were still to be addressed. We did not know how the market was going to evolve in terms of production and efficiency of batteries, in terms of costs, etc., etc. So what we did, we announced that we developed 2 solar parks. One was operational in February 2023. The second one, which included energy storage facility, was developed and operational at the end of November, early December 2025. That took care of all our electricity needs, 100% of our electricity needs. Different, let's say, parameters were evolved in a different way. We expected costs to evolve, to reduce more during that period. They did not. However, the price of electricity grew, so the project became even more, let's say, attractive financially. We also substituted natural gas burners with heat pumps that are working with the clean electricity, and we have electric vehicles in most. We have substituted our vehicles with electric ones for the majority of our fleet. So, what started as an idea, a goal, a vision of becoming net zero, without truly knowing the journey to take us there was a very, very bold decision at the time. The result, as Winston Churchill would say, that this was a brave decision because the result was positive, otherwise it would have been a very stupid one. But it was indeed very positive because it has environmental impact, it has reputational impact, it has financial impact, so positive financial impact. So that was a truly successful and brave decision taken at the time.
Thank you. I like the great examples, I think, because they were all so different, right? Although, amazing. And here I have to say I'm also happy nobody mentioned brave decision getting married. Great. So can I please ask the audience, do you have any questions? You saw how diverse and bright ideas we have and exchanged.
For this nice discussion, we just sacrifice all the time around the technical issues, legislation issues, operational issues, etc., etc. What about the human being? How you manipulate the human resources in all those developments in the future and the years to come? Thank you.
Somebody want to take this?
Well, in our case, we have a number of HR initiatives globally, communications, as we operate globally, we have people in different countries, different entities, different cultures, so we share information about what's happening within the group on a quarterly basis, newsletters, we train them globally as well, and we've got some initiatives, especially toward the end of the year, where we put all the entities, people together to have end of year meetings, Christmas parties, end of year celebrations, where people are getting together, professional part, and also the fun also to understand and to know everyone better in a way, because it's important. It's people at the end who needs to get well together, to work well together, and to serve our customers and to serve the market.
Training, seminars, symposiums.
Yeah, training. So training, it's easy through different means. It can be, e-training. So we have libraries of trainings that we give access to all the staff from the group, and then we can do specific trainings depending on the topics.
And you have also a balance in the educational level of this number of employees.
Yes, because we are
PhDs, masters, primary education, the levels of education of this
we have really, all types of educated or non-educated people, depending on the entity, depending on the work. So we have really, variety of different types of profiles, going to the, some high-level educated people to some people that are doing I was mentioning the metal work, so they are doing different things in a different way, but more manual types of jobs. So we have really a lot of different profiles.
One more question until we go to the next panel. Yes, please.
Thank you. I want to come back to the GDPR thing. I believe it's the Singapore airport that at the time of check-in takes a selfie of you and it uploads to a huge digital screen called Airport Family Tree. And obviously I agreed as a passenger at some point of booking my ticket to that, but it's a little bit strange. On the other hand, it's a welcoming marketing initiative. So my question to airports is, if there is a line or a limit that airports can negotiate the GDPR limitation to improve operational marketing, but also its data insight, and if it's different from nation to nation.
Well, if I may, I think that in Europe the directive is quite specific. Obviously, a passenger has to accept to provide this data. At the same time, the data has to be proportional to the reason that is required. So, for marketing reasons, I'm not a legal expert, and I'm not sure that this would be so easily done in Europe like it is done in Singapore. I will tell you an example of some time ago where we used biometric data through a European project we fund to allow access to our airport operations center. Not passenger-related data, but employee-related data. Our own employees who would be entering the operations center, which is a very sensitive area, as you can assume. And this project was rejected by the authorities because it was considered that the amount of data requested is not proportional to the purpose of this request, because let's say, it was exaggerated. So this can perhaps give you an example of what is feasible and what is not in the European sphere in terms of this kind of data and using them for this kind of purposes.
Maybe I might add on that a little bit further. I find our industry unlucky in the respect that we are a highly regulated industry. And when it comes to GDPR, I think overall our civilization or mankind is a little bit confused. In some areas, it is very easy to use our personal data, even we are not aware which level of data we agreed to provide. In some areas which are more regulated, it goes through several filters, which sometimes the analysis seems not to be smart enough. So thinking of, for example, social media providers, I usually find myself facing with very, very personalized advertisements or very personalized feedback coming back, whereas I'm not aware that I was giving my personal data to be used in that aspect. But when you ask the authorities in a formal manner, like in an industry where we operate, it is usually difficult to get the permission, and I think that has been one of the challenges we are facing, being a highly regulated industry.
Thank you.
So, well, for the economy of time, and I would like first of all to thank a lot my fellow panel members. Thank you very much for the very interesting discussion, and really we even finished it at a very interesting point, and I'm sure there's a couple of points that Jean-Luc and Ahmet will also raise here in the privacy issue and GDPR. However, can I please ask that you give a round of applause to